Yo, what's going on, everybody? Good evening. It's your boy Ango. It is April 18th, 2022, and today we are talking about it appears, WWE Raw. I don't know what the hell am I saying. It appears WWE Raw has gone off the air. We're going to talk about it. Hopefully everybody's having a good night. I'm going to be taking a look at the chat, seeing who's rocking with us this evening. And a lot of good, some bad. The ending to WWE Raw had a lot of people talking, so we're gonna hopefully add a different perspective to it. I think there's gonna be a lot of people who really hated the ending with Cody and Kevin Owens, and normally I actually hate endings like this, but I will in fact defend it. So spoiler alert: if you don't like when I'm a positive person, that sucks for you, because there was a lot more good than bad on tonight's episode of Raw. Now, as always, I got my notes, a lot of things that I want to get through, so we will take some time to do it. But we got some stuff to talk about. Definitely some bullet points that I want to hit. Cody and Seth Rollins, some good stuff there. Women's Tag Team Championship, some good stuff there. Really like the stuff with Bianca and Sonya. Also, what they've done with Veer was pretty cool, something I didn't expect. Kevin Owens, Ezekiel, really good stuff. Chad Gable. This is a very, very interesting episode. I'll say that. I won't say it was perfect. I won't say it was terrible. I won't say it was bad. I won't say it was amazing. I think it's an interesting episode. There was a lot of good. There was some bad. And that's the way I like to classify WWE. Now, with that being said, before we jump into the topics, I do want to say thank you to everybody who is in here. I see the usuals: Cedric Gilmer, Albert Ponce, BHHDTY, Austin Baker, Michael Baumberger, hopefully I pronounced that right, MGT, Goat, a lot of people are in here, Boom Squiggles, Scott Mason, welcome, Todd Crow, Mike, Jay Phoebes, TJ Nitro, what's up, Rick Corrales, good evening, my friend, Karina, welcome, everybody, thank you guys for stopping by, I appreciate it. Yeah, honestly, I thought Raw was solid, right? Like, there was a lot of good, there was some bad, but the things that I have that are bad aren't probably the things that people on the internet are talking about. In fact, on my timeline, and I follow a lot of people who talk about wrestling, a lot of people on my timeline, they're not talking about these things, which makes me question some of the tweets that go out. I've been on record saying it before. I think a lot of people on Twitter tweet their wrestling opinions to go along with the popular opinion, and I can do that if I wanted, but that's no fun. So, I'll keep it 100% real with you. That's how we do it. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Guys, it's a cycle. I keep you updated 7 days a week on the latest of pro wrestling. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. We just got a super chat from Rick Corrales for $5. We're going to answer this one. Hopefully I can fix the screen. It's covering my face. Rick Corrales says for $5, when are they going to stop jobbing Finn? Rick, I'm so glad you asked this question, because I've been meaning to talk about this for a long time. I honestly had been meaning to talk about this, and if I'm being honest, it was expected. It was expected. Finn Balor's just not a WWE guy. He's a veteran. He's able to make other people look good. It's a Hollywood film set, man. This is what it is. This is what people have a hard time understanding. Maybe they're just so used to like the internet chatter or whatnot. I think there's two things. You have to understand how business is conducted, and you have to take your personal feelings and emotions out of it. When you think with your emotions, I don't think you could truly understand what WWE or even AEW are actually doing. So here's what I will say. Finn Balor jobbing to Austin Theory, first of all, it was logical because there was a history there between both individuals. But also, Finn Balor just hasn't been a good U.S. champion. And I think part of that is based on how WWE views Finn Balor. But also, I just think the middle card in WWE is a very hard place to be. You know what I mean? If you're not in the 24/7 championship picture, and if you're not Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, if you're not in those positions, like, what you do on TV doesn't matter. And it's an issue that I've had with WWE for a while, but you just have to look at the crowded main event scene. And Finn Balor right now is just not part of it. And I know that bothers a lot of people when I say this, but I think it was obvious that Finn Balor was going to drop the belt. I don't know what's next for Finn. I don't see Finn Balor staying long with WWE. I don't. And it's not because Finn Balor wanting to leave. I just don't think WWE sees a reason to keep him. But also WWE's job as a company who's trying to push Theory as this heel, WWE has done a phenomenal job of making you hate him. And that's exactly what they want to do. We got another super chat from Albert Ponce for $5. The highlight of the night was the heels coming out to celebrate Theory's victory. By the way, Finn needs to go to Impact, reunite with the Good Brothers. Yeah, first of all, Rick, thank you for your super chat. Albert, thank you for your super chat. And I want to tie both of these super chats together, right? When you look at Finn Balor, he's just not a WWE guy. He's not. I mean, he's not a WWE guy by any stretch of imagination. Like, WWE has their way of doing things, and I think WWE is in a situation where, give me 1 second, we're having a technical issue. Okay, I think I fixed it. Okay, there we go. I don't want to look. WWE has the way of WWE doing things. The way that they look at their wrestlers, the way that they build their superstars. You have to be a WWE way of things, right? Cody Rhodes was in the WWE years ago, and now he's back, and literally he had to transform absolutely everything about him to get to the point where WWE wanted to push him. Finn Balor had the demon character, and even that, it doesn't really do enough for him to be special on the main roster because, again, the main event scene is super crowded. So I know that this is not going to be a popular opinion, but if Finn Balor stays with WWE, you just have to understand that, logically speaking, the way WWE views the business, it's like a Hollywood film studio. It's like a freaking movie in Hollywood, right? Brad Pitt's going to have the top role, and whoever's the other co-star will also have the top role. Everybody else is supporting cast. That is Finn Balor's role. I know that is really hard for wrestling fans to understand because Finn Balor was obviously a big deal before WWE, but that's the way it is. And that is why there are certain talent who embrace their role, end up doing really, really good. And that's why other talent don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. But WWE is showing you that their formula works, and if you don't agree with it, that's okay. You don't have to agree or disagree. What you need to do is just shut off your TV. Literally, just shut off your TV. Don't watch the product. Don't contribute to their TV ratings. Don't contribute to their social media engagement. Don't talk about it. Don't come to my stream and talk about it. Don't go in Discord and talk about it. Literally, just drop the product altogether because that is the most important thing that you can do. If you really want to see change, if you really want WWE to know that you're not happy with their product, you can't. You can't watch it. You can't do anything with it. And I'm not saying WWE's way is the greatest way, but this company is the most profitable it's ever been. I wish there was some sort of middle ground, but unfortunately right now there's not. So believe it or not, yes, Albert actually said it. He's like, Albert said in the super chat, he goes, the highlight of the night was the heels coming out to celebrate Theory's victory. Yeah, why would a whole bunch of heels come out and celebrate this victory? They're all bad guys. It is what it is. But I saw T-Bar and Commander Aziz and all these people that really don't get the opportunity to shine on TV. They're trying to make it a big deal for Theory winning. And again, we're supposed to hate it. As fans who want the babyface to be on top, we're supposed to hate it. So all the bad guys coming out, Vince McMahon at this point is embracing Austin Theory. It works out very well for them. And it's just the way that they do things. And you know what? I do like it. I really do like it. And you know, I put out a tweet. If you guys aren't following me on the official Ango, I do live tweet. But one of the things that I said was, and I'll actually read it to you guys word for word. But where is it at? Damian Priest was a great U.S. champ. Finn Balor's reign was not good. Maybe, just maybe, Theory winning is WWE's way of getting back on track with the mid-card belt. And if this is what it takes to get this mid-card championship to actually mean something, I'm totally cool with it. I do want to give a shout out to Austin Baker. He extended his membership for 8 months. 57 people here and not 57 likes. Get the likes up. Join the Discord and check the TikTok at Ango TV. And y'all have a great night. Shout out to Austin Baker for coming through with the support. If you guys don't know, we do have a Discord. I am now on TikTok. All the links are in the description. A lot of great things happening on the channel. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, everybody. Rick, Austin, thank you guys for your support. Appreciate it. What's up, Negla K? We got MGT. We got everybody in here. A lot of people coming through in the chat. I'll try to get to as much as possible, guys. I do want to run through the show as well. But yeah, definitely a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. Negla K says, I don't like how Finn lost, but they let Ricochet win. Negla K, I can't speak for sure on the push for Ricochet, but there is this belief that WWE does want to actually push Ricochet. They do view him internally as one of the top baby faces. Maybe that's a change for him. I don't know. We got another super chat from Albert Pons for $5. Dolph and The Miz are two great examples of wrestlers who know their place in the totem pole and make the most of the time they are giving to shine. 100%. 100%. And it just goes to show you, like, that is 100% accurate. And it goes to show you that you could be successful in WWE without being a world championship. By the way, I think that's why a lot of people in wrestling fail. If you want me to be completely honest, I think every wrestling fan thinks every wrestler needs to be a world champ. And it's great that you show that type of support, but I think you get so emotionally, not you specifically, Albert, but I think people get so emotionally attached to their favorites not becoming champions that it's like they're a failure. And at the end of the day, it's scripted entertainment. So the way I look at this specifically is that you have to play your role and play it very good. Austin Theory is in the mid card. WWE is letting you know ahead of time, hey, this is our guy. By the way, instead of them pushing him as a babyface, where people will just reject it, they're going to push him as a heel, and people will reject it even more. It's perfect. It literally works. And honestly, I think WWE has done a good job with Austin Theory. I like the fact that they had a little promo video package detailing their history with Finn Balor and Austin Theory. It was just a really, really good thing. And by the way, Finn Balor versus Theory was a great match. It was a fun match to watch. There was some really cool... there was definitely some cool spots. I think what's next for Finn is two things. I think WWE could very well put Finn Balor in this role where maybe, just maybe, because we haven't seen a third person join Edge and Priest, maybe there's a chance they put Finn Balor in that group, which again immediately puts him in something important as long as he knows his role is to be part of the supporting cast. Or there's an opportunity maybe for WWE to put Finn Balor in NXT UK. I don't think WWE hates Finn Balor. I just think WWE has a very bloated roster, just like AEW, and there's just other people that are higher on the priority list. They're higher on the totem pole, and I think that's incredibly important for people to know. I like Finn Balor a lot. I don't have an issue with Finn Balor. I just think the way that he has been presented on WWE television most recently hasn't been good. I don't think it's been good, and I blame that on WWE. But also, I understand the dynamics here. And, you know, I think there's got to be something that happens to eventually get him to that next step. And I think they missed their boat. When he fought against Roman Reigns, they missed the boat with that. I feel like they should have done something more after the ring cutting, the rope cutting incident and whatnot. But, yeah, ultimately, I will say, guys, like real talk, as much as it's an unpopular opinion, Theory versus Finn Balor went exactly the way I expected, and it was a really, really good moment for the show. By the way, we had an opening promo on the show between Cody and Seth Rollins. Maybe it went on a little too long. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a complaint or not, but it's exactly what it needed to be. WWE so far has exceeded all my expectations for Cody Rhodes. I'll get into the main event later. I do know a lot of people are probably going to hate my opinion on that main event, but I honestly just don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit because I really like it. I really like the ending, and I am somebody who has been on record for saying I hate the DQs, I hate the non-finishes. This is the first time where it's happened. Probably the second time tonight where it actually made sense to me, where I was like, okay, this is really good. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But the opening to Raw was exciting because I think Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, whether they're heavily scripted or not, it just feels legit. It's presented in a positive way. It's really cool to see Cody look like a star in WWE. It's cool that he's kept a lot of that AEW-ish with him. My advice to any wrestler, by the way, this is just my opinion. You guys can take it as you feel, but my opinion is if you see a wrestler that you feel is underutilized in WWE, instead of talking about how WWE may have dropped the ball, I would look at ways that maybe that wrestler can go and get better outside of WWE. I think that's like a really, really big thing. Just like Cody left, came back. Drew McIntyre left, came back. Jinder Mahal left and came back. Look at Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona left, and now look what he's doing outside of WWE. I think it's important for a lot of these wrestlers to go get more experience. Try and prove to WWE that they fucked up. That's the thing I would say. You know what I mean? I think that's what they should do. I think if somebody like Finn Balor, for example, if you don't think he's working in WWE, maybe Finn Balor needs to leave WWE and go and show WWE what they missed out on, so that way they can see it. Maybe they just don't see it right now. And again, it's because like I've said about AEW and WWE, they have a lot of people that are extremely talented, and there's not enough time. There's not a lot of factors that allows them to go out there. Plus, you got to look at Bobby Lashley. Lashley came back to WWE, by the way, was put in stupid storylines with Miro, Rusev, and Lana. Garbage television. Garbage. I couldn't justify it. I didn't even enjoy watching Raw at that time. But now look at it. Lashley is the number one babyface on Raw next to Cody Rhodes. So it just goes to show you that leaving and coming back is not a bad thing. So instead of saying, hey, AEW dropped the ball on this person or WWE dropped the ball on this person, let these people go and leave the company, show these people what they're missing out on. And I think that's going to be what they need to start doing. We just got another super chat from Rick Corrales for $5. Do you think they are going to swerve us with RK Bro winning? I don't personally think so. That's funny because I want to talk about this too. By the way, everything they've done with RK Bro has been amazing, but I don't want it to overstay its welcome. So my concern is that the tag team championship, the tag team championship thing after the unification match, like I do believe for a fact that Usos are winning. I believe Randy Orton and Riddle will split at WrestleMania Backlash, but I'm fearful of what's going to happen to the tag team division after, because from late 2021, early 2022 up until this point, I feel like the tag team division has actually improved. After this unification match, I'm scared because I think a lot of this had to do with RK Bro. I don't think they're going to swerve us with RK Bro winning. I think RK Bro will drop those titles, and I think when they do, the future of tag team wrestling in WWE will be even more interesting to see what happens. But I think this is all about the bloodline. It's the act that gets the most viewership. It's the act that is completely over within the WWE universe, within wrestling fans. And yeah, I mean, I really, really think there's no swerve here. I think RK Bro's dropping those titles. I think they split. I think WWE has a lot of potential with Riddle or Orton turning heel. Once again, RK Bro, Street Profits, everything that they did tonight was honestly really cool. For those who may have missed the match, it was Street Profits versus RK Bro. There was the distraction from the Usos on the Titantron. Street Profits won. A lot of people didn't understand the explanation here as to why. So then Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, I don't want to say for sure it confirmed a heel turn, but it was very much like a heel promo. And I loved it. This got me 100% within, like, we had talked about it on the stream. I know Albert Ponce and I had talked about it on the stream before with Street Profits going heel. If this is the future, like, I'm 100% all in on it. Just a really good promo. Montez Ford said he's basically responsible for the Usos distraction on the Tron. This was a good way to have champions lose clean on television because there was a logical distraction. Riddle and Orton kind of, do you see the cameras where Orton smirks a little bit? That also led me to think, okay, now they're starting to plant the seeds for the turn. I'm with it. Very, very good stuff. Thank you, Rick Corrales, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Really do appreciate that. Guys, I want to move on to the women's tag team championship stuff. Naomi and Sasha Banks versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. This is some really awesome stuff. I don't know how or why WWE ended up getting me interested in this, but for some reason they did. They did get me interested in this women's tag team division stuff. Now, after all this stuff happens, I'm curious to see what happens here. But I got to admit, Rhea Ripley turning on Liv Morgan, easily predictable, easily went down the way I expected. But what's really cool is backstage, they show Rhea Ripley walking through backstage. And again, you see the purple lighting in the back. That really makes me believe Rhea Ripley is being groomed for that spot with Ciampa and Priest and Edge. Maybe. We don't know if it's going to be Ciampa, but I feel like it's going to be a 4-person group, and they're going to put Ciampa in there. By the way, Ciampa wasn't on Raw tonight. So when we talk about people in the supporting cast and what people's roles are, right now it doesn't look too good for Ciampa, but I don't want to judge too quickly because there's a good chance that he might be joining the faction. Gotta stay hydrated, my friends. We did get a super chat from Albert Ponce. Let's see. For $5, Albert says best male wrestler award goes to Elias for his performance as Ezekiel. LOL. There, I said it. And Chad needs to be on TV more. He is a great heel. Albert, you are a funny guy. You are a funny person because I've actually been saying this. I've been saying that this Ezekiel stuff, it's so cheesy, it's so cringy, it's so corny, but I love everything that they're doing with it. And, it just goes to show you that, like, wrestling needs to have a little bit of silliness, right? And I encourage AEW and WWE to do it more often. You don't want to overkill it with the silliness and the cringy stuff. But the lie detection segment was really underrated, in my opinion. Kevin Owens, Ezekiel, and Chad Gable have incredible chemistry. And realistically, like, the one thing I really took out of this, too, it was actually written down as one of my complaints. I was like, another week of Monday Night Raw without Gable Steveson. No mention, like, nothing. Like, where is this guy? Like, he's supposed to be on the main roster by now. They hype him up at WrestleMania. Like, is this project doomed before it even begins? What was really cool was Chad Gable tried to make this segment about himself because he's conducting the lie detection thing. And as he's doing it, he immediately, like, went off the grid and he just goes crazy about Gable Steveson at WrestleMania. And Kevin Owens had to calm him down. So my biggest complaint was absolutely the fact that we haven't seen Gable Steveson yet, but this kind of made up for it because they mentioned it and it looks like they're not forgetting about him. I don't know what their plans are, but I mentioned this. I said, Ezekiel lost due to a DQ because Otis attacked Ezekiel. So technically Ezekiel won the match. Now Ezekiel is not being introduced to the wrestling universe, the WWE universe, as this fantastic, amazing wrestler. No, he's been introduced as Elias's younger brother. This is not some guy like Cody Rhodes who has been built up from leaving AEW coming to WWE. This is a totally different scenario. So the idea that Otis actually cost him the match is great because at some point, I think this is going to lead to a tag team match for Alpha Academy versus Ezekiel and somebody else. Now, of course, a lot of people on social media are joking and they're like, oh, well, what if it's Elias and Ezekiel? There's no way that's going to possibly happen. I don't think that's going to be a part of it, but I think Gable Steveson needs to have some sort of role on TV, and there's a little bit of continuity there with him and Chad Gable, which, by the way, Ezekiel being immediately paired in some sort of TV time with Gable Steveson could be a great thing for him because not only does it allow Gable Steveson to work with somebody at this point who is very well comfortable being on TV, but you don't put the pressure of Gable Steveson being on a singles match immediately. So I do see this DQ finish leading to a tag team match for Ezekiel, and I think this is going to be wonderful stuff. It was really shocking to me for some reason that I really love the segment. I did not expect it to be funny. I did not expect it to be cool, but Kevin Owens just shows you how great he is at what he does. Chad Gable definitely needs to be on TV more. Albert, I agree with you 100%. But again, this is what we were talking about earlier. Guys like The Miz, right? They have their role on TV, they embrace it, and they execute great segments. If wrestlers can embrace their role like Chad Gable, I think you're going to see more entertainment, man. I really do. And for Ezekiel, Elias, for this thing to be on TV and be so silly and stupid and dumb and cringy, I'm actually entertained by it because there's substance to it. There's something to it that, yeah, maybe it's not what I would typically like in my wrestling program, but there's something there. And the cool thing is you have guys coming together to make it work. So again, it's kind of like the Naomi and Sasha Banks thing. Like, WWE hasn't been booking them incredible before the tag team championships, but now they found something that works for them. That is how I feel about Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, Chad Gable and Otis, and now Ezekiel/Elias, which, by the way, we got to talk about it. That family has some really good catchphrases. Who wants to speak with Zeke? Man, very, very interesting. Thank you, Albert, for your, did I say interesting? It is interesting, but very, very exciting. Who knew I would enjoy that? Thank you, Albert Ponce. Albert actually just mentioned in the chat, he said the segment with Ezekiel and Pat McAfee was good. Yes, I did retweet it on Twitter. And again, that's where I start to enjoy WWE a little bit more, right? It doesn't always have to be so damn serious. Things don't have to be serious. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit with the 24/7 championship segment. Heavily hated, but I disagree. Guys, I want to talk about Bianca and Sonya Deville. Honestly, the segment in the ring was cool. It was fine. It did what it had to do, right? Sonya Deville is effective at being this she's effective at being in this role where she is like, she's an authority figure, but now she's a wrestler and she's trying to bridge the two. Basically, what this leads to is Sonya getting hit with the KOD, kind of. It doesn't go through all the way, but she does get thrown to the ground. She's supposed to get fined later on in the show. Adam Pearce fines Bianca Belair $1 for getting physical with her. So now there's actually some tension between Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. This is where I get really into fantasy booking mode. But I think if you're WWE, you have to do, if you're going to unify all the titles but keep the brand split, I think you need to put a scenario where Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are the authority figures for both shows. And I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but if you're going to do the brand split, you're starting to have some tension between Sonya and Adam Pearce. I don't know if Sonya Deville is going to be wrestling anytime soon full time. If you want to keep the brand separate, I think Sonya Deville being the heel authority figure, Adam Pearce being the babyface authority figure, and they're competing against each other can make for some good television. But I like the fact that they're adding like little small nuances that create this tension between them. Sonya Deville is going to obviously get fed to Bianca. There's no way that Sonya wins the match. But again, it's not so much about the win or the loss scenario here. It's about the storytelling. And obviously there's that little story between her and Bianca, and obviously an authority person abusing her power. Yes, it's been overdone in wrestling several times. That's how it typically goes in the real world as well. But it's just the way it is. Sean Williams says, why does Sonya have authority? Sean, that's a great question. For those who don't remember, Sonya Deville, maybe it was a year ago or so, I can't remember when, but there was that whole story that was put on TMZ and national news, the news companies, in which Sonya Deville was being like, it was just a crazy thing. I don't even really want to talk about it. But when she returned to WWE from everything that actually happened in real life, when she returned to WWE, instead of having her wrestle, they put her in an authority figure. Not even really an authority figure. I mean, technically it is, but it was essentially this, it's essentially just like being a official, a WWE official, which honestly I was okay with it because the women's division was crowded too. You know what I mean? It's like I've been saying for a while. When you have a bloated roster, when you have so many talented people, not everybody could hold the championship belt. So you still put them on TV, you still do something with them because you like them and you want to use them, but you can't find them in a role, that you can't find them in a role that that's not appealing, right? Like Sonya Deville just being another wrestler doesn't help, but the fact she's on TV as an authority figure, as somebody who is, by the way, a heel, it helps. It adds an element to some good stuff, Becky Lynch isn't on TV, and I don't know where Becky Lynch comes back into television or how she comes back, but this is a good story for Bianca Belair being the babyface. Let's see. Rick says, I love the $1. Yeah, I loved it too, right? It was like a really cool babyface pop for Adam Pearce, Adam Pearce finding Bianca Belair $1 and he's just playing by the rules is what he says. It's just a small little element of fun. Bianca coming out flashing $1 too. It's like, Sonya Deville was trying to threaten her to pay like a $1 million fine. That was crazy too. But yeah, I like the segment. We had Veer versus a local competitor. Surprisingly, I like this as well. I like the fact that they're really, really keen on making Veer look powerful and strong. Now, if you guys missed my latest video, I talked about it. WWE Raw saw a 9% increase over the previous week when Veer debuted. WWE in India had over 56.1 million viewers on the Sony Sports Network in India. So, Yeah, it was a really, really crazy thing. You know, WWE has Veer on television, and they're using him to beat up jobbers. I always love when wrestling does that. I think it's important that AEW starts doing that with their more often for talent they're trying to push. Not sure what just happened. Are we still live? That was strange. I just got a random alert on my computer, so hopefully it doesn't crash. But yeah, I wish the jobber thing was something that was happening a little bit more often on television. You know, it's nice that you don't have to pad the records of WWE and like WWE versus AEW. You know, wrestlers go on Dark and they pad their records for wins and losses. WWE doesn't necessarily do that. So you have Veer versus a local competitor. You get it out of the way. You beat him up. This guy can't be contained. Again, it's just a really good way of building him up. But what the hell happens after? That's my complaint, right? He's defeated Dominic Mysterio. I don't know really what's happening with Rey Mysterio at this point. They haven't really explained. My belief is he's in the COVID protocol. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I just love the idea of him beating up this jobber. But what was really cool too, Owens has an entrance for that KO show. And when Kevin Owens was making his entrance, you see that the jobber was being carted off on a stretcher. So Kevin Owens makes his entrance. He sees the guy being stretchered out, and he just starts laughing at him. Just really small detail that I wish WWE would do more of, because I think it enhances Kevin Owens' character, but also just in general, it goes to show you how brutal the beatdown was for Veer and the jobber. Like, that went down exactly the way it should have been. And again, this is something I wasn't expecting, but it's logical. It makes sense. And it is cool to see that WWE, you know, they've been promoting Veer for like 8 months, and I really don't know what they're going to do with him after the fact. But right now, on a week-to-week basis, as I talk about the show on a weekly basis, I am excited to see that they actually have him doing stuff, and it's decisive. You're not seeing him in the same situation that maybe Ezekiel's in, where Ezekiel got DQ'd. Well, he won the match by DQ because of Otis. So yeah, again, it wasn't something I expected to enjoy, but I did enjoy it. We talked about Street Profits, RK Bro, all that stuff. That was good. We got the Edge promo backstage. That was really cool. Edge and Damian Priest, I love everything about it. Edge talked about the darkness that was within him from the Ministry of Darkness and the Brood. I absolutely loved that Edge brought this up. That was really cool to see that Edge kind of brought into that history. This was an effective promo, an effective video backstage promo segment. The only complaint I have, and again, because I got to talk about the good and bad, and for as much as I love this faction, right, we didn't see Ciampa tonight. We saw Rhea Ripley split from Liv Morgan, but we don't know who else is joining this group, you know, and not one time tonight did WWE really make it clear to us who will be joining this group. And that, to me, is a very, very interesting thing. And it's a thing that kind of bothers me a little bit. And again, it might be nitpicking, it might be negative, but I'm so strongly supportive of everything they're doing with Edge and Damian Priest. I'm probably more supportive than some of these other YouTubers and content creators. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and social media kind of talk negatively about it. But I think the Edge and Damian Priest stuff is like, you know, it's just kind of like this, you know, it's wrestling. Right? Like, you can't take wrestling so damn serious. At the end of the day, it's a television show. So whether it's the comedy, it's the dark stuff, whether it's the Austin Theory and Finn Balor stuff, like, you got to have something, a little bit of everything on your show. And I really enjoyed it. And by the way, we get that AJ Styles backstage interview with Sarah Schreiber, and AJ Styles, the lights just start flickering like crazy in the backstage thing, and then they turn purple or whatever, and AJ gets beat up by Damian Priest and Edge. So I loved everything about this. It does so much for Edge and Damian Priest and AJ all being involved in this segment. Despite them not being in the main event right now for a championship, this still feels very important to the show. That's why my complaint is, okay, well, who's the next member? And it appears to me that WWE is going about this the slow burn, right? Rhea Ripley, we don't know if she's joining, but Rhea Ripley did turn heel tonight. And I mentioned it earlier, as she walked down backstage, you see the purple lighting. So I feel like WWE is trying to be subtle, but it's my same complaint that I've made about AEW. Long-term storytelling could be really good, but you don't want to do a slow burn always when you know people's patience are running out, especially because WWE is a 3-hour show. So if you're waiting every week to get to it and you're waiting 3 hours and 3 hours and 3 hours and there's no real big tease or anything that really indicates that they're going to get a new member, it just kind of becomes like, it kind of becomes this thing that you get annoyed with over time. And I don't, and that's a viewing habit issue that I have. But at this point, it's like I'm kind of expecting another reveal and I just don't know who it's going to be. So I feel like it's going to be Rhea Ripley. I feel like being that if I had to complain about something on the segment, as good as it was, I just wish it kind of brought me to a way of thinking of where I start thinking about what is next. That's really what it is, you know? Like, I'm excited for the match. They announced the match is going to be taking place at WrestleMania Backlash. A lot of people are kind of annoyed about that, but it serves its purpose. It's no different than last year. So I think WWE's in a situation where, like, putting AJ and Edge is going to be great, but do you have AJ Styles lose? And we'll talk about that more on the prediction show because we will do one of those live. But yeah, that was a tough thing, man. It was a good segment, but I just wish a little bit more out of it. And again, that could just be an issue for me. That could be an issue for me specifically as a fan, maybe just having a little bit too many expectations here. But if there was one thing I saw negatively about it, it was like, great segment. I love the backstage promo. I love the backstage beatdown. But like, are they a tag team? They're not having tag team matches. Do they have a group name? They haven't. I don't. Maybe I missed it, but they haven't been branded as a group yet, technically. And I've seen I've seen a lot of people say this too. They're like, hey, well, maybe this leads to AJ Styles building his own group of baby faces. You know, I'd be totally cool with that. The good guys versus bad guys. I feel like something like that would need to take place at SummerSlam. It would have to happen at like one of the big pay-per-views. Now the question would be, who would join AJ Styles? That's a good question. Maybe there's more to it. I don't want to jump the gun on it, but this is definitely a long-term storyline that I'm interested in. I hope this actually extends beyond WrestleMania Backlash, but again, we need to see how this will develop. Cedric Gilmer says in the chat, maybe Judgment Day. Edge keeps saying that. I think he said it in his promo. I think he said WrestleMania Backlash will be your Judgment Day. I'm pretty sure that was in his promo. That would be cool. Originally when I heard about it, there was a rumor that it was just going to be called The Jury. And then I remember I talked about it on live stream. I think Sean Ross Sapp said something about the Grand Jury. So the fact that WWE hasn't announced it yet, maybe WWE has like this slow burn with the members being added. But to me, there's a lot of potential with this group. You got to add multiple members. I want to see like 6 or 7, 8 people in this group. Like I honestly want to see more people. At the very minimum, 4 people. I want to see a lot of people. And I want to see all kinds of people. All types of people that you would not expect to see in this group. Because I think that's what it's going to take for this group to be a big deal. And that's not something that will happen overnight. But I think it's very clear there's a lot of people who can benefit from being in a group, right? We talked about Finn Balor. And Negla K just mentioned this. He said Finn Balor is a good name to join AJ, which I agree. But we don't know what's next for Finn Balor after losing the U.S. Championship. I feel like him going heel would make more sense than being a babyface after dropping his title. But even that too, right? If you're involved in the AJ Styles, Edge, Damian Priest storyline in some capacity, I feel like that's a really good spot on the card. So who knows? Maybe that's something that's something that should matter. You know what I mean? But ultimately, yeah, that was my only complaint. I just wish we kind of had an idea of what was next. Balor vs. Theory U.S. Championship. Honestly, I already talked about that earlier, but I did like it. I understand why people are upset about Finn Balor losing, but it's expected. Again, WWE is like a performance from Hollywood. It's like a movie. You have a role, and right now Finn Balor's role is to make other people look good. And so far, as it stands, I'm really not sure. Truth be told, I'm not sure what they're doing next with Finn Balor. So, like I said, Negla K said in the chat, maybe something with Finn joining AJ. I don't like the idea of Finn Balor being a babyface. I like him more as a heel. At the click of a button, all they got to do is turn him into the Demon. They could make him a serious top-level heel. But to me, WWE seems pretty lost in that regard. The wedding segment, man, I know a lot of people hated the wedding segment, and I'm not sure as to why. But here's what I'll say. Well, I know why. I know wrestling fans aren't always accepting of this, but I tune out a lot of people's opinion when they go on an anti-WWE like tweet storm, but they don't want to necessarily add context to it. It's very easy to say, hey, WWE is bad, but it's really hard for some people to actually explain why, and vice versa, WWE, AEW, Impact, whatever it may be. I want people to start having conversations about wrestling and start realizing when they're having conversations about, hey, I enjoy this, I enjoy that, I don't like this, I don't like that. I want people to actually explain why, like what it was about it that made you not enjoy it. The wedding segment is cringy, stupid, dumb, silly, ridiculous. Literally, like, it is absolutely ridiculous that this is on television, right? But I look at it from a perspective of like, okay, first of all, this is gonna be very successful for WWE in terms of YouTube numbers. It's gonna be successful for WWE in terms of television and ratings and social engagement. It has people talking. The 24/7 championship is made to be a joke. That is why it's there. It's not supposed to be a serious championship. And ultimately, I think every wrestling company needs to have some silly stuff, you know? When you talk about DDT Pro, what was it? The Iron Man Heavyweight Championship belt? It's kind of similar, right? Like, you got to have some of the silly stuff on there. R-Truth is really good at his role. Tamina's really good in her role. Dana Brooke is really good in her role. Tozawa's really good in her role. And they use this as an opportunity, right? They had a callback to Team Bad, right? Sasha Banks and Naomi with Tamina. Just a nice little callback. It's a typical wedding segment, and it ended up with 3 different champions, and then eventually Dana Brooke got the belt. And, you know, whether you like it or not, it's one of those things. It's, of course, everything is subjective. But for me personally, as a wrestling fan, I understand the logic as to why WWE did it. And I think, you know, there's so much serious stuff happening in wrestling. There's so much bullshit that happens in the real world, by the way. It's okay for 5 to 10 minutes to watch a stupid 24/7 championship segment and laugh at it. There could be far more issues in this world. There's a lot of negativity out there. We live in a world where everybody, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening, man. And I personally think, like, it's okay to laugh a little bit. That's what makes wrestling fun. And that's why I enjoy the 24/7 championship stuff. To me, it's not very, like, it doesn't take a priority. I don't want it on the pay-per-views taking up TV time from singles matches and stuff. But to throw it in there a little bit, have a couple laughs, and just move on, it's fine. Shockingly, I enjoyed it. We did get a couple super chats. Let's get to those. We got a super chat from Tattoo Nick. He just broke my super chat goal on screen. Tattoo Nick dropped a $9.99 super chat. Finn Balor would make a great heel. If WWE can do anything like they've done with Finn Balor on NXT, his most recent run when he was doing stuff with Johnny Gargano and Ciampa and Undisputed Era and that whole thing, if they can do something like that, man, that was really cool. Tattoo Nick, I agree. Finn Balor would make a great heel, but that's why I feel like he would probably benefit more from being in the group with Edge and Damian Priest. But I also feel like Ciampa would be really good in that group too, and we didn't see Ciampa tonight, and that was a complaint for me. You know, Ciampa's this new guy who gets called up to the roster, and I get it. He's kind of an indie guy. He's not really the WWE way of things. I don't expect him to stay with the company. I really don't. Unfortunately, I feel like if there is going to be another list of talent getting released, if that does happen, unfortunately, I just feel like Tommaso Ciampa is like, he has a lot of similarities to the other people that have been released. But I do love Ciampa. I think he's going to be massively successful regardless. It's just they got to use him. And Finn Balor being a heel in that group would be awesome. Ciampa being in that group would be awesome. That, to me, would signal that WWE is willing to use these guys in some capacity. I'm not saying Ciampa needs to go fight Roman Reigns, but I want to see him on TV. Same like Finn Balor. He lost the belt. Okay, but what's next? You know what I mean? Tattoo Nick, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it, brother. We got a couple more super chats. Let's take a look. Rick Corral has dropped another $5 super chat. What do you think happens with Liv now? This is a great question. Honestly, with Liv Morgan, you never really know. But Liv Morgan had a clean win on SmackDown, right, in a singles match. Now she's lost the tag team championship. I know a lot of us are starting to see Rhea Ripley turn heel, but I'm curious if this actually leads to maybe Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan joining the group as well. I do like the potential idea of that, where Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley team up together and join this group. And maybe this is where, like, Rhea Ripley just has to beat the crap out of Liv Morgan every single week for Liv Morgan to just find herself again. And she ends up finding herself thanks to the help of Edge, Rhea Ripley, and Priest. Like, that could be a really cool thing, you know, as we fantasy book it. That's what I would like to do. Because I think if she's not part of that group, or if she's not doing anything relatively new, there's not a lot of stuff happening in the mid card of the WWE Women's Division. So either you're going to get moved to the 24/7 championship stuff, or you're basically going to be off of TV. So I like that idea. You can do a story of Rhea Ripley, you know, she went from a tag team with Liv Morgan. Then you have her literally wrestle Liv Morgan and start attacking her every single week. And Liv Morgan, you know, maybe that's like enough. Maybe Liv Morgan can find herself. This can all be a storyline where she finds herself thanks to getting the crap beat out of her. You know, if I'm WWE, that's what I would do. 100%. Liv Morgan has a huge following. A lot of people love Liv Morgan. When I was in Raw at Detroit, like at WWE Raw in Detroit, the crowd went crazy for Liv Morgan. She was absolutely incredible. And I didn't expect that reaction for her. So the fact that she got that reaction tells me that people want to see her on TV. But it's like Alexa Bliss, right? Alexa Bliss is reportedly unhappy, right? You hear about the story of Alexa Bliss being unhappy, and Alexa Bliss was at the top of the women's division for years. So, like, if stuff like that is happening, how does it work for the people beneath her? I don't know, you know? But I think that would be the cool thing. If you're WWE, hey, build this singles feud, and then the singles feud actually reunites them under the darkness. Thank you, Rick Corrales, for your super chat. We got another super chat from Albert Pons for $5. The wedding segment continued Truth's quest back to the 24/7 title, long-term storytelling, even for the jobbers at WWE. LOL, gotta love it in short forms. Guys, I really, you know, R-Truth is just amazing, first of all. For him to officiate this wedding, and I just feel like they've done a lot of good stuff with R-Truth, man. This guy is older, he's a veteran, and I have to be honest with you. Whether it's for a mid-card championship or the world championship, which I know this is absolutely ridiculous to say out loud, but I genuinely believe this just because I'm a fan of his work. This guy has range. When R-Truth wants to be a serious wrestler and a serious gimmick, it works. When he wants to be this comedy character, it works. I would love for one day, when the time is right, just one time for R-Truth before he retires, before he hangs it up, I would love for WWE to just have him turn heel. Have him have like a serious heel run before the end of his career. Let him go off and have, whether it's the mid-card championship, you know, US or IC title, just have him win one of them. And then that way, when he goes on that run, he could eventually drop it to an emerging babyface. That guy is amazing. Honestly, R-Truth is amazing. He makes these segments fun and just like, it's crazy, man. Again, it's just like, it's the silly shit that sometimes you just got to enjoy. And you gotta just stop. Again, there's a lot of negativity that happens in the real world, and television and entertainment is supposed to be your escape. It's okay to laugh at the stupid stuff too. It is stupid for sure. To me, it's never going to be a segment where I'm like, I gotta go and watch this. That's not how it works. Never, ever, ever. That's never how it's gonna work for me. But what it does for me is tells me as a fan, when it's on TV, even if it sucks, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but I really loved that R-Truth has been able to embrace this role. If R-Truth is able to get if he's able to get that one title reign before he hangs it all up, I'd be really happy. This guy's like a 60 million time 24/7 champion. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I remember when R-Truth was doing stuff with Brock Lesnar on television, and that to me just signaled how good R-Truth was. And then you see him do this 24/7 championship, and he keeps calling Dana Brooks, and just like it's the small little nuances, man. It's the small little details. I think it goes over a lot of people's heads, but that's what makes R-Truth really good at what he does. And again, it's just like The Miz. You have this role, you have to embrace it. I think every one of these wrestlers would love to be a world champion. I'm not like, I think like R-Truth is a perfect example of this, right? Like R-Truth is like embracing his role. He does it very well. And people love what they're seeing. Like maybe the internet wrestling community doesn't love it, but I promise you, you go in those comments for an R-Truth 24/7 championship segment, people love it. I'm seeing in the chat too, by the way, people are saying, hey, where did little Jimmy go? People forget why R-Truth, people forget what he accomplished in TNA. First of all, yeah, I mean, people forgot about his TNA run, which was great. Don't get me wrong. But I think this all happens for a reason, right? Michael Baumberger says the callback to, I don't even know if that's PG. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious too. Like there was some small stuff, man. Again, it's just, I think R-Truth has just done a great job in his role, and it makes me enjoy. Again, it's not a segment where I'll be like, oh man, I have to watch this, right? It's not a segment if I had plans on a Monday night and I can't watch Raw. It gets me to the point where it's like, it's never going to be a situation where I think, oh my God, I have to be home and I have to watch this segment. I can't believe it's on TV. It's not like that. But I know if I watch it, I'll enjoy it and I'll laugh about it. It's not a big deal. MGT says, Ango, to be exact, R-Truth is a 53-time 24/7 champion. Yeah. And we're sitting here talking about Hangman Page and Roman Reigns being the best champions. No way. R-Truth is the greatest champion in the last 20 years. I'm curious as to why. Excuse me. I'm curious as to why perhaps... as to why maybe they haven't had the 24/7 championship be a dual branded thing. I feel like it's always on Raw. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm surprised that it's not on both Raw and SmackDown. It would be cool for them to put that belt on both shows because I think SmackDown could use a little bit of that fun humor. I feel like it's more on WWE Raw. WWE with SmackDown would definitely benefit from it. Albert Ponce, thank you for your super chat, brother. Appreciate it. Guys, another thing. So I've spoken pretty highly about the show. I thought the show was very solid. I actually, despite me being pretty positive about it for the last few weeks, the Omos and Lashley stuff I wasn't happy with this week. And I know, again, people are going to say I'm nitpicking and people are going to say that I'm negative and whatnot. But if I'm being honest, I really didn't like this. I didn't like the route that they went here with Omos and Lashley doing an arm wrestling challenge next week. I just thought it was kind of... strange, you know what I mean? But yeah, I didn't like it. And I feel like it was just kind of thrown on TV just to make sure that you remember that Omos and Lashley were on TV. But I feel like both of these guys and what they've done in the previous weeks just felt like a big deal. Today, it didn't feel like a big deal. And again, that's my issue with WWE's consistency. You got to make things feel like a big deal. Not just once or twice a month, but 3 or 4 times a month. You got to keep it up. Consistency is the best. And I think your show benefits from when you're consistent. I know a lot of the people don't like Omos because he's not this great, amazing worker, but I think there's something cool about him and MVP together. We got another super chat from Rick Corrales for $5. I love when R-Truth said John Cena was his childhood hero when he's older. Yeah, that's the best part about R-Truth, right? So like, R-Truth was R-Truth. I remember that segment. And R-Truth, man, R-Truth and John Cena was fun. But, yeah. By the way, he's a legit rapper. I've heard R-Truth's music. Ron Killings has some good stuff. He just dropped, I don't know if it was an album or an EP or something, but he dropped something recently. And I love it. I love when wrestlers can do things outside of wrestling, you know, like music. There's a couple other wrestlers. Chris Bay from Impact does music. I think he's really awesome at it. Leo Rush drops music. I thought he's very talented at music. I feel like there's more that I can't think of off the top of my head. But whenever wrestlers get into music, because I make music myself. A lot of people don't know that. I produce music. I make music. Because I've always had that love for music. It's always cool seeing people that you wouldn't think make music actually make music. And then on top of that, hearing them make legit music is cool. Because like... R-Truth is somebody that's been in this comedy role for WWE for years now, you know? So to hear that he's making like some really good music, it's just kind of fun. it's kind of fun to see that they're doing it, and it's kind of cool to see that they're actually good at it, right? Like I said, Chris Bay does a really good job. Lio Rush. I know Mickey James does country music. Chris, what I say? I did say Chris Bay, Mickey James, Swerve does music. Top Dollar does music. Top Dollar dropped some pretty cool stuff too on Twitter. He's dropped some like diss tracks and stuff, which was cool. Lio Rush was great at it. And then, a lot of people forget too, like, I know he wasn't a wrestler, but Wrestle and Flow, a YouTuber. He was a YouTuber. He got a job with NXT. Then he did the live performance for Adam Cole on WWE. And then I remember now I think he does the music for a couple people in AEW. I think he's got Sean Spears and someone else. So that's like really cool. You know what I mean? It's just cool to see people in the wrestling business going into music is a cool thing. So I actually love, I love the fact that R-Truth does music. He actually performed. I can't remember. Maybe it was for Jack Swagger. I think he did it for Jake Hager when he fought for Bellator. I think he performed live for him. So that was really cool. But yeah, just again, music is, I love music. So when you see other wrestlers get into music and doing it, it's really cool. Rick Corrales says in the chat, Jericho. Yeah, see, I almost forgot Jericho. Man, I feel like there's so many more that I'm missing. Definitely a lot more that I'm missing, but eventually it'll come to me, and then I'll randomly blurt it out. Thank you, by the way, Rick, for your super chat. I appreciate it, guys. We're halfway to goal. Albert Ponce just mentioned Max Caster, too. Yeah, like you can't forget about Max Caster either. So, yeah, we're halfway to Super Chat goal. If you guys want to take us there, drop some Super Chats. I'm answering questions. Like I said, a lot of good, some of the bad. I just mentioned Omos and Lashley. Just this week, I didn't really care for it. Not something I was really interested in. Unfortunately, it's just the truth, That's a storyline I've been actually really happy about recently, but it's just kind of the way it is, unfortunately. And hopefully they get it together. Hopefully they get it back on road and figure out a way to make it better. Really, I mean, I really liked everything tonight in terms of like WWE sticking with most of how do I want to explain this? Like Kevin Owens, Ezekiel, I thought that was great. And then you look at like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins in the main event. Like that's great. WWE did a lot tonight to make me interested for next week. And that's something I've been talking about WWE a lot recently. Like I understand that a lot of people didn't like the DQ ending. Not even the DQ, it was the count out finish. The count out finish for Kevin Owens and Cody. I normally don't like non-finishes, right? But the thing is like I like the fact that Kevin Owens is starting to turn on Seth Rollins. And I like the fact that Cody Rhodes was kind of emotional about it and kind of annoyed and upset about it because Cody Rhodes is here to prove that he's the best. And to see Kevin Owens walk away from it, I want to see what this leads to. And I think this is where WWE did a solid job tonight for Raw. Again, there were some things that I complained about, right? I complained a little bit about, some of the things that we didn't see on TV or maybe some of the things that are a slow burn. I talked about the Omos thing, but for the most part, WWE has done a great job this Monday for making me want to see what happens next week. What happens with Edge and Priest and AJ? Is there going to be more members joining? What happens with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan? What's going to happen now with Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes? Cody Rhodes getting that non-finish. I know it pissed off a lot of fans, but for Seth Rollins to throw Cody off the top of the buckle at the copyright thing, at the end of the day, that's what you're supposed to do as a heel. It got people to react, and I think WWE had gotten to a point where it's like, yes, you want Cody Rhodes to win, so technically he won, but you don't want to bury Kevin Owens, and this is a good way to do it logically. Seth Rollins pissed off Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens says, screw this, I don't really need to be in this match. I'm basically doing you a favor. So he gets the hell out of there. It makes sense. It really does. I would prefer clean finishes, but again, I get it. Now, if WWE is going to do this every single week, holy shit, I can't do that. But once in a while, if you need a non-finish, I think that's a good idea. And if I'm WWE, I think WWE did a fantastic job this week of making me want to see what happens next week. But if I'm WWE, I don't do that more than once. At least not often. Okay, every few months, okay, sure, you can do that. But with Cody Rhodes, you really want him to win. And you want him to do it decisively. But again, this was logical from a storytelling standpoint. And now that tells me there's going to be some friction with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. And, maybe this is WWE's way. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe this is WWE's way of eventually building to a storyline between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. And what they've been doing on television has been awesome. I think both of those guys sold their WrestleMania stories without Stone Cold or without, Cody Rhodes on TV. That they should be given a lot of credit for what they did. Okay. And, yeah, Michael just said in the chat, there's a time and place for a non-finish, and this was the right place for it. 100%. All I ask is for my wrestling to be logical, guys. I'm not asking for anything more. I'm not asking for WWE and AEW. I get it. You're going to hit bumps in the road creatively. That's normal. Right now, the bump for WWE is not creative. I feel like WWE, at least the last 2-3 months, WWE Raw has been a major step up in creative. And this is coming from somebody who watches every week. But with that being said, truth be told, their bump is not the creative aspect. Their bump in the road is literally them. WWE's issue is sometimes they book themselves in a corner. And that's my issue with WWE. And that's why when I complain about WWE and AEW doing it, it's because it's illogical, right? Just don't insult my intelligence. Be logical about the stuff you're doing. And I think WWE did a good job today, for the most part, being logical. And I said it before. I said maybe predictability isn't always bad as long as it's logical. Rhea Ripley turning on Liv Morgan. Yeah, we knew it was going to happen, but the way they did it, it's the right way. Sean Williams says, I have never heard anyone talk this positively about WWE. Don't get me wrong. I criticize WWE too. But I don't say things for the hopes of wrestling fans on YouTube and Twitter I don't say this to please people. I say things the way I see it. Honestly, I really do. I really do believe that. It's important as a wrestling fan, YouTube content creator, podcaster, whatever you guys want to refer to me as. As somebody who watches wrestling, I think a lot of people say things on Twitter and YouTube because they know their audience is expecting to hear it. And lately, if you've watched my show on Wednesday nights, you know I have not been the utmost positive person about AEW. And for somebody who subscribes on April 2022, they're not going to understand my history with AEW. But I have a history there. I had been covering the formation of AEW before they went on TV. I've seen different bumps in the road for AEW. And recently, I have been a lot more negative towards AEW, and I've been a lot more positive than WWE. But if you go back 3 or 4 months ago, it was different. And if you go back a year ago, it was different. And if you go back 2 years ago, it was different. You're going to hear different opinions. You're going to hear me change my opinions. But that's what I do. I cover this on a week-to-week basis. And yes, I am speaking a little bit more positively about WWE, but I cannot stress enough, like one thing that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and I'm still just waiting to I don't know. Honestly, it's hard for me to talk about this because I was at WWE in Detroit. The crowd was absolutely insanely massive. And then I watched it back on DVR, and the crowd didn't sound so good on TV. So obviously we know that WWE and AEW, they put background sound. They definitely amplify the crowd noise, and they're definitely doing their thing. But when they're adding in the audio, the reactions, I hate it. I hate when the shows are getting dubbed with reactions. I absolutely hate it. But at this point, it's hard for me to even talk about it because I went to Raw in Detroit, and it was massively amazing with the crowd reaction. And either WWE mic'd it terribly, the audio mixing was messed up, or WWE was dubbing so much reaction stuff that it just didn't come out right on television. But yes, I do believe that WWE has been a step up. I believe SmackDown was the better show for the last few years, and now all of a sudden SmackDown has gone to shit, aside from Roman Reigns and maybe a few other things. But for the most part, Raw has me intrigued every week. And I can sit here, truth be told, I'd probably get more viewers. This is the truth. I can probably go live every Monday and Tuesday and talk about how I hate NXT and hate Monday Night Raw, and I'll probably get a lot more viewers watching live. But truth be told, I don't feel that way. And that's why literally you can go back and see what I said. Like, my opinion changes on the product based on how they're putting out the product. I also am not going to sit here and group together with a whole bunch of other YouTubers and form this, like, I don't know. It's like, I'm not going to group together my opinions with other content creators or other wrestling media. And I've noticed this. It's become a thing in wrestling where a lot of people on Twitter will, you know, like, they form like this huge like thread of like negativity or even positivity. It doesn't even have to be negative, but they build this thread of like one way of thinking. And like literally, like, I'm tweeting people and I say, hey, I just want to hear a different perspective. This is what I'm thinking. I would love to hear your perspective. Because it's really easy to say WWE sucks. It's easy for me to say AEW sucks, right? But it's really hard for, it's not hard for me to explain why. But I see this happen in Discord. I see it happen on Twitter. It's really easy for fans to say, like, it's really easy for fans to sit here and be like, oh, well, WWE sucks. It's stale. Okay, well, explain to me how it's stale. I'm not against you saying it. I just want to know what makes you think it's stale. What specifically gives you that opinion? Perspective, right? I can say anything about pro wrestling, positive or negative, but I'm going to offer context. That's the thing that I've learned here, is that context is everything. I can sit here and tell you that NXT is bad because I know it's the popular opinion on the IWC, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do that because I enjoy NXT. And if that means my YouTube channel is not going to grow or whatnot, I don't really give a shit, guys. That to me is not a big concern for me. I love what NXT is doing. I love what Raw is doing. Did it piss me off that one of my favorite segments didn't have any explanation for what I should expect next week? Yeah, it did. I love the Edge and Damian Priest stuff, but I would have loved to learn what's going to happen next week. Is there teasing of new members? Is there a group name? Like, okay, cool, we see you guys are teaming up and doing like these backstage antics, but I want a little bit more from you. Is that hard to ask for? So yes, you could still enjoy something and be critical of something, and I think that's what people don't I don't think that's the thing that people don't understand. I think that is the thing that people don't understand. I don't hate AEW. If I hated it, why would I hate AEW? Why would I want to see AEW die? Why would I want WWE to die? Literally, it is my full-time job to talk about wrestling. This is my full-time job. I literally talk about wrestling and provide my opinions and my perspective on things that are happening in wrestling. Why would I want these companies to die? That doesn't make sense. Why would I want Vince McMahon to leave WWE? Why would I want all of these things to happen? It's very easy to say that WWE sucks or AEW sucks, but provide context. Tell me why you think that. Tell me why you think WWE is terrible. Give me some ideas. I want to hear your perspective. Is it because it's rehashed storylines? Because honestly, here's the thing. I want you guys to form your own opinion. My opinion should not change your opinion. But if my perspective can help you have a better perspective on wrestling, that's what it's all about. That's why I kind of do this, right? But let's think about this. I've seen people say this before. They've said, hey, AEW makes mistakes. AEW is going through a slippery slope. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're starting to point out some of the negatives about AEW. But if you want AEW to grow and you want AEW to get better, or WWE, right? Wouldn't you want to provide context to it, or do you want to just sound like you hate everything? If you go, and I can't remember how I heard about this or where I read it or something, but it's like, if you have the anticipation for something to be bad, or you don't like something before you even do it, then you're going to hate it. So if I go into Wednesday nights hating AEW, This is not going to be shocking, but I'm going to watch the 2-hour show and find ways to hate it because I'm going in with the intention of hating it. But if I go into the show with no intentions and hoping for a good show, I'll be open-minded. So if I see that AEW and WWE are doing good or bad, I can have a very fair opinion about it, and then I'll provide context. Like what you guys think and what I think as are mistakes, those are just personal opinions. Those aren't factual. If you tell me WWE's making mistakes, cool. Tell me what kind of mistakes. Tell me what kind of mistakes they are. Provide me the context so I can understand your perspective. I want people to call in and I want to have conversation in Discord. But I feel like every time I'm having conversation with people about sports, wrestling, music, whatever it is, it's very easy to just say the obvious opinion, but not actually tell me why. WWE does make mistakes. WWE's biggest mistake is believing that it's a big mistake in my eyes as a fan, but it's not a mistake for them because they're making money. But my mistake is WWE doesn't care about those mid-card belts as much as I'd hope. I think that's a mistake. Because you have a bloated roster, you have a bloated main event scene, I think a lot of people would be interested in your mid-card if your mid-card was treated just as high as your world title picture. Now, by the way, that wasn't my concern about AEW 2 months ago. But now I see them playing hot potato with the TNT Championship. I'm starting to not give a shit about that. You see what I'm saying? There's no mistakes that these companies are making that are detrimental to the company. There's none. I won't sit here and bullshit. I really do not like what I have seen from AEW these past few weeks in terms of overall product. Like to get me excited for the next week, they haven't done much. I'm just being completely honest. But I'm not going to go into Wednesday Night Dynamite hoping that the show is bad. No, I'm going to hope that it's good. Like, we have this massive announcement for AEW. I'm on record saying I don't like the massive announcement stuff. When you're constantly having a massive announcement, it's no longer massive. It's just another announcement. It's done too often. But I'm sure whatever Tony Khan announces, I'll be pretty happy with it, right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to offer a perspective. That's my job here, is to offer a perspective on wrestling. So yes, am I speaking positive about WWE? Yes. As of late, have I been more positive about WWE? Yes. You guys weren't on my live stream. Maybe some of you were here. Maybe you guys were watching, but I did a live watch along for 3 hours of Raw. It was something I was testing out for my channel. And I said, this was a couple months ago. I don't know. It's still up on the channel. But basically my whole thing was, hey, I'm going to try doing a watch along. I'll give you guys my live reactions. I just want to try it out. I never really do stuff like that. And I'm telling you guys, for 3 hours that I was watching Raw, I was miserable. I think I even said on the stream, I'm like, I'm never watching this shit again. I'm never doing a watch along. If they can't get their product going, I don't want to watch it. Being completely honest with you guys, that was my opinion. I said, there's no way in hell I'm watching it. That's how bad I hated WWE Raw. Keep in mind, guys, I'm 100% independent. My brand, my company, my YouTube channel, my content, everything is 100%. It's 100% independent. I don't have any money from a large company. I don't have any money coming in from AEW or WWE. I don't have any sort of financial backing from any company. Everything I do is based on your guys' super chats, your guys' memberships, and the ad revenue that comes in. I work 7 days a week. I don't take a break, and I absolutely love what I do. That's the truth. So, in turn, what you get from me is somebody who's going to be completely fair in their opinion. I'm not going to tell you the things that you want to hear all the time. That's just the truth. There's a lot of other YouTubers and content creators who will just tell you the opinions that you want. That helps them maybe with more engagement or more revenue or more... I don't know. There's a lot of people who will. That's how it kind of goes these days. And I'm going to tell you guys what I think. My opinion is not the end-all be-all. My opinion is not the opinion. It's just my opinion. But in turn, I'll offer a perspective. I'll offer you some reasons as to why I liked something and didn't like something. And if you like that perspective, cool. If not, guys, I'm not offended if you don't agree with me. You know what I mean? That's what makes wrestling fun. I just want to have healthy conversations about it. You know, that's why you never really hear me complain about WWE or AEW to an extent. Like, you'll never hear me say I want AEW or WWE to die, because that's just foolish. In fact, I'm probably one of the few YouTube channels that talk about MLW, GCW, Impact, WWE, Control Your Narrative, AAA, New Japan, and Stardom, and all of these different companies, right? I talk about all of these companies. I want every company to do well, you know? So, I've been doing YouTube for 13 years. Crazy to think how many times my opinion has changed on pro wrestling. On WWE, Impact, TNA, right? Now there's AEW. There's a lot of things I've learned. There's a lot of things I've learned throughout time. We got a super chat from Albert Pons for $5. This past week, both SmackDown and Rampage fell flat. Battle of the Belts was also lackluster. Raw was good tonight. Hopefully it carries over to Dynamite too. Albert, thank you for your super chat, brother. I agree. SmackDown and Rampage both fell flat. I thought Battle of the Belts fell flat. I don't like the idea. Of Battle of the Belts being pre-taped. I didn't like the idea of it being pre-taped. Now, while I do agree to a certain extent it fell flat, I really, really enjoyed Adam Cole versus Hangman Page. Again, that's not even the popular opinion, believe it or not. A lot of people were not happy with it for some reason. I enjoyed the World Championship match. And I saw some stuff on Twitter about... I seen some stuff about how Rampage did under 500K viewers. Like, that stuff doesn't bother me because I don't really care how the viewership is. I just wasn't... Rampage served its purpose. Battle of the Belts to me was just extra content for AEW. I don't know, man. I feel like it did fall flat, but I think AEW just right now specifically, and I'll talk about SmackDown too, but I think AEW specifically is in a tough spot because they just have a lot going on. I think Tony Khan has put a lot on his plate, and again, I think passion will always carry you to the next level. I just think right now there's like this buffer period where things for AEW just right now, from what other people have told me in Discord and Twitter and stuff, they're like, it's kind of gone down a little bit. And that's going to happen. It's going to have its ups and downs. But you guys got to remember too, AEW and WWE have both been in a position where they've provided you some really good entertainment. So as long as you remember that, you just have to realize that even when it's at its lows, or maybe you're not finding it as entertaining, you just have to know that it's going to jump back up again. You know, this past week for SmackDown, Rampage, honestly, it wasn't that great. Battle of the Belts, I wish it was live. That was really my only complaint. Like, everything served its purpose, right? I love the concept of Battle of the Belts. I'm glad it was something that AEW decided to revive. I don't know. It was kind of like I don't know. It just... The excitement wasn't there. And again, I just think there's a lot of stuff on the plate of AEW right now. Thank you, Albert, by the way, for your super chat, brother. Appreciate you so much. Mike says, you're not on Tony Khan's payroll? No, I'm not. I've always said I want to be like an agent, producer, creative for a wrestling company. It's something I've always wanted to do, you know? And I think if you guys want me to do more of it, I've noticed that sometimes when I make my videos or live streams, I do a lot of fantasy booking, or I do it where it's appropriate. But if you guys want me to start doing more fantasy booking, like, I just love being creative. You know, if you guys want me to, I'll try to, like, part of my notes is I make bullet points. But if you guys want me to fantasy book something, just let me know, and I'll start doing that a little bit more often. Because I think for me as a fan, eventually, look, I'm not on Tony Khan's payroll. I'm not on WWE's payroll. But to have a job working in a wrestling company, to be creative or a producer or agent, it would be badass. No joke. But that's because we're all fans of wrestling. I think everybody would love that spot. But right now, this is what I do. And there's no way you can't buy my opinions. And I don't even know if Tony Khan even knows my YouTube channel. But if he ever wants to talk to me on this channel, that would be great. I would love to have that conversation. Negla K says, I know you don't get this a lot, Ango, but I appreciate all that you do. You always keeping us in tune with everything going on in the wrestling world. Salute, bro. Thanks for always taking time out your busy schedule to talk wrestling with us. Much love. Nah, man, this is my job. This is what I love to do, man. This is literally what I love to do. Karina says maybe they were not happy because of the Crown of Thrones that Hangman did to Cole for Rampage. Karina, I'm not sure what that. Oh, are you talking about the? I know what you're talking about. The Thorns, the Crown of Thorns. Okay, I don't know if that was intentional. I mean, maybe it was, maybe it's not. I'm Catholic. If it was done intentionally, I mean that's just done in poor taste. It wasn't even something I really paid attention to, but that could be a good point too. Maybe that's why people were upset with it. I can see that. Albert says, I'm digging the new Chris Statlander character. She was on Dark Elevation. Real serious focus tonight. You're right, brother, but they got to start putting that on TV every week. Consistency. Todd Crow says, you said it, Ango. Other streams will tell us what they want us to know. You don't. Yeah. Paco said WWE had no choice but to up their game ever since AEW came along. Of course. Yeah, no, that's, 100%. Triple H said it. I think Vince even said it too. Competition makes them better. I think before AEW, you can tell WWE wasn't trying. I think even in the beginning, WWE wasn't trying. I think they're like, I think WWE just had to have competition. There's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, I think Cody Rhodes going to WWE. Cody Rhodes going to WWE has to make AEW better. That's the point of this stuff. Michael Baumberger says other sites are saying there's been some outrage over the Crown of Thorns. Okay, so maybe that's what it was. Honestly, I didn't even think anything of it. And again, I'm Catholic, but I didn't even think anything of it. But because it's wrestling, you know, I decipher that it's not real life. If there was any intention behind that, I mean, shame on them. I can totally understand that outrage now. That wasn't brought to my attention. But also, too, I wasn't really live tweeting anything on Rampage or anything like that. I wasn't really doing much of it. So I wasn't paying attention to it. But yeah, if that was done intentionally, I just think that's done in poor taste. But again, it's television. You got to decipher the fact that it's not real life, ultimately. It's no different than a movie or a sitcom or something. You know, I think it's scripted entertainment, you know. But yeah, I could see that backlash. I can understand that now. But I feel like a lot of the backlash in general was just the way the show was booked. Like I saw some I did see some backlash on the Ruby Soho and the Renegade Twins thing. But I actually like that, believe it or not. I like the twin magic that was being done. It just would have been nice if they didn't lose. Paco says, I want the wrestling wars to start again. I honestly don't. I think right now, I like the way it is. I don't think a wrestling war benefits anyone. And the WWE is just too ahead of it. And I just really want AEW to focus on their product, honestly. And I want WWE to focus on their product, you know. That's what I would say. I would say just focus on your product. Focus on being good every week. This whole tribalism back and forth, me versus you. Yeah, it's fun at times, but I think wrestling is better when, you know, it's like there's going to be other YouTubers who have better opinions than me. Or I won't say better opinions. I'll say different opinions than me. There's going to be YouTubers that have better production than me. There's going to be YouTubers with $1 million film studio. I don't have that, right? But what I have is that I'm authentic, I'm real, I'm genuine. I want my community to come together, right? So sometimes I think what this really comes down to is that I can be against everybody in the wrestling community, or I can be accepting of the wrestling community and say, hey, I want everybody to win. That's what I would want. Because you got to think, my full-time job is a very small niche that a lot of people in the real world don't look at as a real job. There's a lot of people in this world who doesn't believe what we do, whether it's What Culture, Cultaholic, Ango, JD, whatever YouTube channels there are, right? They don't look at content creation as a real thing. They don't look at it as a serious thing. And I want people to see these types of things. And I want people to come across multiple channels and be able to realize that, like, this is a really cool job to have. And anybody who's passionate can do it. So I wouldn't want Wrestling Wars to begin. I want a kid, like, if there's a kid that's going to grow up to be a wrestler, like, it doesn't matter about WrestleMania or AEW All Out. Like, go and wrestle and do the thing that you want to do if that's what you enjoy, you know? That's how I view it. Sean Williams says it was Good Friday. That's the controversy, obviously. Yeah, definitely. Again, I don't think that would be intentional, but you never know. I feel like that would have been a really poor... I don't know if AEW or Hangman Page or anybody spoke out about it, but I feel like that would have been done in poor... if it was done intentionally in poor taste, I mean, that would be a shame on them. But I really don't think that's the case. I don't see that being the scenario here, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. Again, I just looked at it as a wrestling match, so I didn't even think about it. But... MGT says, Ango, do you know what Bubba Ray said on his Busted Open podcast, saying that because of the angle with Charlotte and Gulak, Charlotte should start wrestling men? I didn't hear about it. I didn't listen to Busted Open recently, but no, I don't think Charlotte should start wrestling men. I think what they've been doing, Charlotte, has been good for Charlotte, and I think they got something with Rousey. You know what I mean? So I would just keep focusing on Charlotte. She doesn't have to wrestle other people. You need to have her wrestle. You need to start building up female stars that are good and ready for that spotlight with Charlotte. That's what you need. You need great contenders for your champions. She doesn't need to go run off facing other people. She needs to go face people within her division. And that's where I say WWE needs to get better about booking people consistently so that way they can have worthy challengers. Cedric says, it was a terrible take, MGT. I hate Bubba Ray's takes. I think he does it to get a reaction. He has been met with a lot of opinions that were not necessarily popular. A lot of people were not happy to see some of the things that he said. Bubba Ray has been very outspoken about WWE, but that's his opinion. If that's what he believes, I mean, I'm not here to tell him that his opinion's right or wrong. That's his opinion. Maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe he does do it to get a reaction, but that's what he does. I don't know. But if that's his opinion, that's his true opinion, hey, so be it. Nothing wrong with that. Albert Ponce says, Gulak is a good choice for manager, not LA Knight. Nah, man, you can't change my mind. Can't change my mind, brother, man. You can't change my mind. LA Knight in this role, again, WWE has a lot of people right now who are, unfortunately, they're being pushed. There's not enough TV time for everybody. The roster is bloated, just as I mentioned with AEW and WWE. They both have this issue where you got only one world champion, one mid-card champion. You cannot make everybody a champion. You can't put everybody in a prominent storyline. Right now, as of right now at this moment, it is too soon to put LA Knight in a serious push. You put him on TV, have him manage different people, let him go off. That dude kills it on the mic. I'm all about it. Sorry, brother, man. I love LA Knight. I love what he does. But to me, if he joins WWE's main roster as a wrestler right now, he's just another guy. He's another guy that gets lost in the shuffle. And it's the same thing that's happening in AEW. You'll have him on TV, but he's lost in the shuffle. And there's too many people you're trying to push. There's too many people you're trying to give attention to right now. And I think LA Knight should very well be at the top, but it's just not the right time. Right now, he needs to be managing these people, and then eventually I think that needs to lead to him becoming have him becoming the guy. You know what I mean? That's what I think. Let's see. All right, yeah, the camera's dead. I don't know if I can get a photo up. That will be very interesting. We've actually gone over time, so here's what we'll do. Yeah, so we're a little bit over an hour and a half. The camera, you know, it overheats, guys. It does its thing. But so what we'll do is we'll end the show. I'll get this bad boy. We're almost there, guys. We'll be able to get a camera probably within a month or so, I think, hopefully. But I'll eventually get a camera that will allow me to do things long term. And I just want to say thank you guys for stopping by. Everybody who dropped super chats, you know, everybody who supported tonight. Thank you guys. I'll be back tomorrow for NXT Live. As you guys know, NXT is one of my favorite shows. I'm actually kind of worried there's not a lot of stuff promoted for tomorrow, but I will be here to talk about it, and we'll see what happens. I would love to talk about NXT tomorrow, and I don't know what to expect, and I hope it's good. I'm looking forward to all these companies. I think AEW and WWE and all these shows have a lot of potential, but it's how they deliver it. And tonight was a very solid Raw. I'm glad I could talk to you guys about it. I love hearing you guys' opinions, and it's cool seeing that a lot of people are starting to jump on board with, you know, what I've been saying about WWE getting better and stuff, because I think we just need wrestling to be good. And hopefully WWE hears you guys. And yeah, Sean Williams, thank you for stopping by. I know this was your first time. But again, guys, it's not about right opinion, wrong opinion. It's about having a healthy conversation. You don't have to love WWE or AEW, but to have a good conversation about it always makes it fun. That is the best part about wrestling. I see your opinions, and I don't think you're right or wrong. I love hearing your perspectives, and hopefully you enjoy hearing mine. We're going to end this show, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow for NXT. Then I'll be here for Wednesday Night Dynamite. As always, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff happening this week on the channel. Tons of big news. We'll be covering it. We're still awaiting more details on the Kushida story, but make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel because I'll probably be talking about that tomorrow once the details are out. But yes, thank you guys for stopping by. I'll see you next time.